Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I want to speak to the version of you that's tired of giving, waiting, overthinking, and feeling like you're never quite enough for someone who barely shows up. This isn't about bitterness or revenge. It's about reclaiming your power, your peace, and your worth. When you finally stop giving a damn, not out of spite, but out of self-respect, that's when everything shifts. That's when he starts losing his mind, because your detachment speaks louder than your words ever could. So let's talk about what really happens when you stop chasing love and start choosing yourself. There comes a moment when you just get tired of analyzing every text, every delay in response, every mixed signal. You get tired of wondering if you're enough, if you're too much, or if you should be doing more to keep someone interested. And that moment, when you stop giving a damn, truly stop, that's when everything changes, not just for him, but more importantly, for you. You see, when we care too much, we often give away our power without even realizing it. We mold ourselves into shapes that aren't ours just to be chosen by someone who hasn't even earned access to our time, let alone our heart. We try to impress, to please, to fix things that were never ours to fix, and it's exhausting. Because deep down, we know we're the ones overextending, carrying the emotional weight of the entire relationship, while they coast. But the second you really detach, something powerful happens. Suddenly, the balance shifts. The person who once felt so sure of your availability starts to feel unsure. They can sense that emotional energy you used to pour into them is no longer theirs to consume, and it's confusing for them. Why? Because people notice when a light goes out, especially one they didn't appreciate until it wasn't lighting their world anymore. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about pretending you don't care while secretly checking your phone every 2 minutes. This is about reclaiming your emotional energy. It's about no longer putting someone on a pedestal they didn't earn. It's about realizing that peace is more important than constantly trying to prove your worth to someone who can't even recognize it. And here's the truth: when you let go, really let go, you stop operating from a place of fear. You're no longer afraid of losing someone who isn't right for you. You stop being afraid of being alone, because you've seen what it costs to stay in something that slowly chips away at your self-respect. And once you've paid that price, you're no longer willing to invest in someone who only shows up when they feel like it. It's not about making him miss you. It's about you no longer needing him to notice you in the first place. And, ironically, that's exactly when he starts paying attention. That's when he starts losing his mind, wondering why the person who once bent over backwards for him now walks away without looking back. Why the messages go unanswered, why the energy is gone, but by then it doesn't matter, because you're not doing it for him. You're doing it for you, and that's where your power lives, right in that moment, when you stop giving a damn and start choosing yourself. That's when everything changes. You know what's louder than shouting, louder than arguing, louder than any long, emotional message you could possibly send. Silence. Silence is deafening when someone's used to the sound of your constant reassurance. It says everything without saying a word. And sometimes it's the only thing that finally gets through to them. We're so conditioned to think that closure, healing, or clarity has to come through conversation, that we need to explain ourselves, defend our feelings, or ask for answers. But every time you go back to explain something to someone who's already shown they don't care, you give away a piece of yourself. You reopen wounds they walked away from without looking back. And for what? A reaction, an apology that probably won't come. A moment of clarity they weren't even thinking about giving you. There's real strength in restraint. When you decide you're not going to engage, not going to beg to be heard, not going to chase validation, you take your power back. Not by being cold, not by being petty, but by simply stepping out of the emotional tug of war you never asked to be a part of in the first place. You put down your end of the rope, you stop pulling, and the other person, they feel that loss immediately. Because silence isn't just the absence of words, it's the presence of boundaries. It's you saying, I've said enough, I've done enough, I am enough. And that scares people more than any confrontation ever could, especially when they were banking on your emotions, keeping you tethered to them. When they were so sure they could come and go as they pleased and still have access to your heart. It's not about ghosting. It's not about being heartless. It's about choosing peace over chaos, because sometimes the best thing you can say is nothing. Especially when your silence forces them to sit with themselves, with their own behavior, with the consequences they never thought would come. You become the mirror they didn't want to look into, and the irony is, the more you hold back, the more curious they become. The more they wonder why you're no longer available, why your energy shifted, why the person who once responded in seconds now doesn't reply at all. That shift makes them spiral, not because they miss you right away, but because they no longer feel in control. They don't know where they stand with you anymore, and uncertainty, especially for someone who once felt so sure of your affection, is unsettling. But here's the beautiful part. Your silence isn't for them, it's for you. It's your way of healing without reopening wounds. It's your way of moving forward without dragging dead weight behind you. And once you taste the peace that comes from not reacting, from not explaining, from not needing to be understood, you'll never want to go back. Silence, when used with intention, speaks volumes. One of the most important shifts you'll ever make in your life is realizing that your worth is not up for debate. It's not something someone else hands you. It's not something that changes depending on who's texting you back, who's choosing you, or who's sticking around. Your worth is constant, but your awareness of it, that's what fluctuates. And when you're in a situation where someone makes you feel like you have to prove your value over and over again, you start to forget it yourself. You might find yourself chasing, adjusting, shrinking to fit into someone else's world, just for the chance to be chosen. But here's the hard truth. If someone only values you when you make yourself small, that's not love. That's not even interest, that's convenience, that's them benefiting from your doubt, because your doubt makes you easier to control. But when you finally realize that you don't need someone to pick you in order to feel valuable, that's when everything changes. You stop bending, you stop compromising your self-respect just to keep a connection alive. You stop chasing breadcrumbs when you know you deserve the whole damn loaf. You don't need someone to respond the right way, show up the right way, or say all the right things just to prove you're worthy of love. Your worth was never meant to be conditional. It was never meant to depend on whether or not someone else knows how to appreciate you. And you can always tell when someone starts to sense that you've remembered who you are. It's when you stop asking for attention. It's when you stop needing their time, their reassurance, their presence just to feel good about yourself. That's when their ego starts to shake a little, because your energy was fueling them, even if they didn't admit it. Your need for them gave them a sense of importance, and when that need disappears, it leaves a void. One they didn't prepare for. They thought they were the prize. They thought they were in control. But the moment you stop looking to them for validation, that illusion crumbles. And suddenly, they're the ones wondering where they stand with you. Suddenly, they're the ones trying to prove something. That shift doesn't come from games. It comes from growth, from finally realizing you're not here to audition for someone's love. You don't have to chase what's meant for you. You don't have to prove yourself to someone who's not qualified to judge your value. And once you feel that deeply, once you know it in your bones, you'll never again give someone the power to make you question your worth. Because you were never hard to love. You were just trying to be loved by someone who didn't know how. There's this moment in every healing journey where something clicks. You stop trying to control the outcome. You stop obsessing over whether they'll come back, whether they'll realize what they lost, or whether they'll finally wake up and treat you the way you deserve. And that moment is freedom, because when you let go of the need for a specific result, you let go of the grip they had on your peace. The truth is, most of the suffering in breakups or toxic dynamics doesn't come from what happened. It comes from our attachment to what asterisk should asterisk have happened. We hold on because of potential, because of what we thought it could become, because we were so sure that, given enough time, effort, love, and patience, they'd finally see us the way we saw them. But people don't fall in love with potential. They fall in love with what they choose to value. And if they couldn't see your worth while they had full access to it, chances are it's not your job to keep proving it. When you're still focused on the outcome, still waiting on that call, that text, that apology, you're not free. You're still chained to the idea of what might happen, and that keeps you stuck. But when you finally let go, not because you're giving up, but because you're choosing peace over emotional chaos, that's when you regain your life. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care anymore. It doesn't mean the feelings vanish overnight. It means you're no longer willing to stay in emotional limbo for someone who couldn't give you certainty. You stop living in reaction to them. You stop checking your phone hoping to see their name. You start coming back to yourself. And that's the difference between waiting and moving on. Waiting ties your happiness to their next move. Moving on ties your happiness to your asterisk next move. What's funny is, it's usually in that space when you've truly let go that they come back around. Not because they've changed, but because they can feel the shift, that energetic pull they relied on. It's gone, that emotional access they took for granted. It's locked, and suddenly they're the ones chasing clarity. They're the ones spiraling, wondering how you slipped through their fingers so quietly. But by that point, you don't even need the outcome anymore. You're not attached to whether they get it or not, because healing doesn't come when someone finally says sorry. It comes when you no longer need them to. That's real closure, that's real strength, and ironically, that's when you become most attractive, when your happiness doesn't depend on them choosing you. Because once you let go of the outcome, you finally become the outcome. It's always interesting to see what happens when you stop giving someone the emotional access they once had so freely, especially when that access wasn't respected. The truth is, a lot of people aren't afraid of losing you. They're afraid of losing the version of you that made their life easier. The version that stayed available, that answered every call, that tolerated the bare minimum, that forgave too quickly. When that version disappears, it creates a shift they didn't expect. See, control in a relationship doesn't always look obvious. It's not always about power plays or dominance. Sometimes it's subtle. It shows up in how one person becomes emotionally dependent on the other staying predictable. They expect you to stay invested, to keep caring, to keep reacting. That emotional consistency becomes their comfort zone. So when you pull away, when you stop explaining, stop chasing, stop justifying, they feel it immediately. Not because they've lost the connection, but because they've lost the control they had over how you feel. They might not have been giving you the effort, the time, or the love you deserved, but as long as you were still there, still emotionally attached, still checking in, still hoping they felt secure. They knew they could come and go, take breaks, act distant, and you'd still be standing there with your heart wide open. That gave them power, not because they were doing anything extraordinary, but because you were doing all the emotional labor. So the second that changes, it rattles them. Suddenly, you're not responding the same. You're not trying to fix things. You're not showing up with that same eagerness to be chosen. That shift doesn't just confuse them, it unsettles them. Because people feel the absence of energy they were feeding off, even if they never acknowledged it when it was there. And often, it's not even about love. It's about ego, about comfort, about being used to you showing up no matter how they treated you. So when they feel that comfort slip, they panic. They start reaching out again, asking if you're okay, saying they miss you, but it's not always because they're ready to meet you where you are. It's because they miss the version of you that made them feel in control. But here's where your strength has to kick in. You don't go back just because they're uncomfortable. You don't trade your peace for their temporary clarity. You remember that this shift happened because you finally saw the imbalance and you did something about it. You stopped being the predictable source of love for someone who was unpredictable in their effort. That takes courage, that takes self-worth. And when they finally realize they've lost not just a person, but the comfort of your consistency, it hits harder than they expected. Because losing access to someone's heart after misusing it, that's when it really starts to hurt. There's something incredibly powerful about deciding that you're not going to wait for closure, that you're going to become your own. For a long time, maybe you thought the final conversation, the apology, or that one honest explanation was going to give you peace. That if they could just admit they messed up, if they could just show remorse, you'd finally be able to move on. But you know what's even better than waiting for that moment? Creating a life that makes it completely irrelevant. Because the real closure doesn't come when they say sorry. It comes when you no longer need them to. It comes when you wake up one morning and realize you're not hurting the same way anymore. You're not replaying the past. You're not obsessing over what they are thinking or doing. You've started to build something better for you. And that version of you, that's what they never saw coming. You glow differently when you're not chasing anyone. You move differently when you're no longer looking back, hoping someone sees your worth. You show up in rooms with a quiet confidence that says, I've been through it, and I came out better. That's not revenge, that's growth, that's healing. That's the kind of transformation no message, no apology, no conversation could ever deliver. And make no mistake, people notice. The same ones who didn't appreciate you when they had you suddenly become curious. They scroll through your photos, they linger on your stories, they send those hey, just checking in messages, not because they're changed, but because you have. They feel the difference in your energy. They can sense that you're no longer sitting around hoping they'll wake up. You already did. It's funny how when you were in the thick of it, when you were overthinking, overgiving, and over-explaining, they didn't feel the urgency to keep you. But now that you're unavailable, now that you're at peace, now that you're actually happy without them, it starts to mess with their head. And that's not your problem to solve. That's the result of their choices. They let go of someone who would have gone to the ends of the earth for them. And now that person is glowing without them. The greatest revenge, if there even is such a thing, isn't found in proving them wrong. It's found in building a life that feels so right. They don't even recognize the person you've become. And the best part, you're not doing it to make them regret. You're doing it because you deserve it. Because you finally stopped asking someone else to give you what you were always capable of giving yourself. The glow up isn't about being seen, it's about finally seeing yourself.